The old man sat on the bench like he did every night. His name was Yong, though nobody at the bus stop knew that. They just knew him as the kind old man who was always there when the last bus came. The streetlight above flickered and hummed, casting orange light on the empty street. It was almost midnight in this quiet part of Seoul. Yong had white hair and wore a simple gray coat that looked older than most of the buildings around him. His eyes were dark and deep, the kind that seemed to hold secrets from long ago, but his smile was warm. When people saw him sitting there, they felt safe. They did not know why. They just did. Tonight was cold. October wind pushed leaves across the sidewalk. Yong did not seem to mind the cold. He never did. He sat with his hands folded in his lap, watching the empty street with patient eyes. He had been doing this for 63 years, sitting at this bus stop, making sure no one waited alone in the dark. The first person to arrive was Suri. She was 28 years old and worked late every night at an office building downtown. Her shoes clicked on the pavement as she walked toward the bus stop. When she saw Yong on the bench, her shoulders relaxed a little. She sat down beside him without saying anything. This was their routine. After a few minutes, Suri pulled out her phone. The screen light made her face glow blue in the darkness. She was reading news about something far away, something about a colony in space. Humans had built a new home on a distant planet, and now there were problems. Suri frowned at her screen but did not say anything about it. Yong glanced at her phone, then looked back at the street. He had seen humans reach for the stars. It made him think of his own long journey through time. He was not really an old man. He was something else, something ancient. But here, at this bus stop, he was just Yong, just someone who kept people company. 20 minutes later, a boy arrived. His name was Day, and he was 16 years old. He had headphones in his ears and his head down. He did not want anyone to see his face. But Yong could see. The boy had been crying. His eyes were red, and his shoulders shook just a little. Day sat on the other end of the bench, as far from the others as he could get. He stared at the ground. Yong did not ask what was wrong. He never did. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small piece of candy. He held it out toward the boy without looking at him, just offered it quietly. Day looked up, surprised. He saw the candy in the old man's wrinkled hand. For a moment, he did not move. Then slowly, he reached out and took it. He unwrapped it and put it in his mouth. It was sweet. The boy's shoulders relaxed just a tiny bit. He kept his headphones in, but he stopped shaking. Yong knew what loneliness felt like. He had lived for 3,000 years. Most of that time, he had been alone. Dragons were rare, and he was the last of his kind in this part of the world. For centuries, he had watched humans from a distance. He had seen them build cities, fight wars, create beautiful things and terrible things. But he had always been separate from them, always watching, never belonging. Then one night, 63 years ago, he had seen a young woman waiting at this bus stop. She was alone and scared. It was late. A man had followed her, and she did not know what to do. Yong had taken human form and sat down on the bench. Just his presence had been enough. The man who followed her saw someone else was there and walked away. The woman was safe. That night changed everything for Yong. He realized that he did not need to use his dragon powers to help people. He did not need to breathe fire or fly through the sky. Sometimes the greatest thing he could do was simply be there, be present, make sure no one had to face the dark alone. So he came back the next night, and the night after that, and every night for 63 years. He sat on this bench and kept people company while they waited for the last bus. Some nights, people talked to him. Some nights, they sat in silence. It did not matter. What mattered was that they were not alone. A car drove past, its headlights cutting through the darkness. The three people at the bus stop watched it go. Then the street was quiet again, just the sound of wind in the trees and the hum of the streetlight above them. Suri put her phone away and looked at Yong. She had been coming to this bus stop for almost a year now. Every weeknight, there he was, rain or shine, hot summer nights or cold winter mornings. He was always here. She had started to wonder about him. She took a breath and asked a question that had been on her mind for months. Her voice was soft in the quiet night. Why do you come here every night? Do you not have a family? Do you not have somewhere else to be? Yong turned to look at her. His old face had a gentle smile. His eyes were kind and patient. He had been asked this question before, but not for a long time. Most people just accepted his presence and never asked why. I do have a family, he said, quietly. You are my family, all of you who wait here. Everyone deserves someone to wait with. No one should be alone in the dark. Suri felt something warm spread through her chest. This year had been hard for her. She had moved to the city alone. Her job was stressful. She had no friends nearby. Every night, coming home late on the last bus felt like the loneliest part of her day, except for these few minutes at the bus stop. These few minutes with the old man who was always there. Thank you, she said. Her voice was small. I did not know how much I needed this until now. Yong nodded. He understood. He had lived long enough to know that sometimes people did not realize how lonely they were until someone showed them they did not have to be. Down the street, they heard the sound of the bus. Its engine rumbled in the quiet night. Headlights appeared around the corner. The bus was coming. Suri and Day stood up. They grabbed their bags and got ready to board. The bus pulled up to the stop with a hiss of air brakes. The doors opened. The driver, an older woman named Hannah, nodded at the passengers. She knew all of them by sight. Before she stepped onto the bus, Suri turned back. She looked at Yong still sitting on the bench. She raised her hand in a small wave. Day did the same, pulling one headphone out to look back at the old man. Yong waved back at both of them. His smile was warm and real. The bus doors closed. The vehicle pulled away from the curb and drove down the street. Its red taillights grew smaller and smaller until they disappeared around a corner. The street was empty again. Yong sat alone on the bench. He would wait here until midnight. That was his rule. The last bus had come and gone, but he always stayed until midnight, just in case someone else needed a place to wait. Just in case someone else needed to know they were not alone. At exactly midnight, Yong stood up. His bones did not creak the way an old man's bones should. He walked away from the bus stop, toward the shadows between two buildings. In the darkness where no one could see, his body began to change. His skin turned to scales that shimmered like emeralds and gold. His body grew larger and larger. Wings spread from his back, huge and powerful. His neck stretched long, and his face became the face of a dragon, ancient and magnificent. This was his true form. This was what he really was. The dragon looked up at the night sky. The stars were bright above the city lights. He spread his wings and leaped into the air. His powerful wings beat against the wind, carrying him up and up. He flew over the sleeping city, over the mountains beyond, toward his home in a cave where humans never went. But tonight, something was different. As Yong flew through the cold night air, he felt something strange, a disturbance in the world around him. Dragons had senses that humans did not. They could feel things across great distances. They could sense when something was wrong in the world. Yong felt it now, something far away, something in the stars above. There was pain there, fear, loneliness on a scale he had never felt before. It called to him like a voice in the darkness, like someone crying for help across an impossible distance. He flew faster, his heart troubled. For 63 years, his world had been simple. Sit at the bus stop, keep people company, make sure no one was alone. But now he felt something pulling at him, something that told him his simple mission might not be enough anymore. The dragon reached his cave and landed on a rocky ledge. He transformed back into his human form, old Yong with white hair and a gray coat. But he could not stop thinking about what he had felt, that cry for help in the stars, that terrible loneliness reaching across the vast emptiness of space. He looked up at the night sky one more time before entering his cave. Somewhere up there, someone needed help. Someone was alone in the dark, and there was no kind old man sitting on a bench to keep them company. Yong went inside his cave, but he did not sleep. He sat and thought about the bus stop. He thought about Suri and Day. He thought about all the people he had kept company over 63 years. And he thought about that distant cry for help. For the first time in many years, the dragon felt uncertain about what tomorrow would bring. 3 weeks passed. Every night, Yong sat at the bus stop like always. Suri came. Day came. Other people came and went. The routine continued. But something had changed inside Yong. That feeling he had sensed in the stars grew stronger each night. It was like a whisper that would not go away, a call for help that nobody else could hear. On this particular night, Yong seemed distant. Suri noticed right away. She sat down beside him and saw that his eyes were looking far away at something only he could see. His usual warm smile was smaller. His hands, which were always calm and still, moved nervously in his lap. "Are you okay?" Suri asked him softly. Yong turned to her and forced a smile. "Yes," he said, "just thinking about something." Suri wanted to ask more, but she did not. She had learned that Yong shared things when he was ready. Instead, she pulled out her phone. The news was still talking about the space colony. The problems had gotten worse. Communication with the colony was breaking down. Something was happening out there, and Earth did not know how to help. Yong looked at her phone screen. He saw the words about the colony. A place called New Busan, 47 light years away from Earth. Humans had built a home on a distant planet. Now that home was in danger, and Yong knew why. He could feel it. The disturbance in the stars was coming from there. The next morning, something unusual happened. A black car pulled up to the bus stop, while Yong was sitting there in the daylight. He rarely came during the day, but today he had felt restless. He needed to think. A woman in a dark suit stepped out of the car. She was middle-aged with sharp eyes and a serious face. She walked directly to Yong and sat down beside him. She did not ask permission. She just sat. "Mr. Yong," she said, "my name is Yunji. I work for the government. We need to talk." Yong was not surprised. He had known this day might come. Humans had many ways of watching the world now. Cameras, satellites, computers. It made sense that someone had noticed him sitting at the same bus stop for 63 years without getting older. "What do you want?" Yong asked calmly. Yunji looked at him with those sharp eyes. "We know what you are. We have known for a long time. We have been watching you. You have never caused any harm, so we left you alone. But now we need your help." Yong said nothing. He waited for her to continue. "The colony on New Busan is dying," Yunji said. "Something is attacking them, not with weapons, not with violence. These things are surrounding the colony. Huge creatures. They block out the sun. They press against the domes where people live. Life support is failing. Our military cannot get there in time. The journey takes too long even with our fastest ships." She paused and looked directly at Yong. "But you can get there. Dragons can travel in ways we do not understand. We have read the old stories. Dragons can cross great distances by moving through space differently than we do. You could reach New Busan in days instead of years." Yong felt something heavy settle in his chest. He had known this was coming. He had felt it for 3 weeks. The universe was asking him to leave his bus stop, to leave the people who depended on him, to go somewhere far away where he might never return. "How many people are at the colony?" he asked. 5,000, Yunji answered. "Families, children, scientists, farmers, people who left Earth to build a new future. They did not expect to die alone in the dark, surrounded by monsters they do not understand. Alone in the dark." Those words hit Yong hard. That was exactly what he had spent 63 years fighting against, making sure no one was alone in the dark. And now, 5,000 people were alone in the dark on a planet far from home. They needed someone to sit with them, to protect them, to make sure they were not alone. "If I go," Yong said slowly, "I might not be able to come back. The journey will take all my power. I may be trapped there." Yunji nodded. "We know. We would not ask if there was any other way. But there is not. You're the only hope those people have." Yong looked down at the bus stop bench. This simple bench where he had sat for so many years, where he had kept so many people company, where he had made such a difference in small, quiet ways. Could he really leave it? "I need time to think," he said. "You have until tonight," Yunji said. She stood up and handed him a card with a phone number on it. "Call me before midnight." Those people do not have much time left. She walked back to her car and drove away. Yong sat alone on the bench, holding the card in his hand. The weight of the decision pressed down on him like a mountain. That night, Yong came to the bus stop as usual. He sat down at his regular time. His heart was heavy. He did not know if this would be his last night here. The thought made him sad in a way he had not felt for many years. Suri arrived first. She sat down and immediately knew something was very wrong. Yong looked different, older somehow, even though he always looked old. But now he looked tired, worn down, like he was carrying a great burden. "What is wrong?" she asked. "Please tell me." Yong looked at her, this kind young woman who had needed his company without even knowing it. He decided to tell her the truth. Not all of it, but enough. "I have to go away," he said quietly. "Far away. People need help, and I am the only one who can help them." Suri felt her heart sink. "For how long?" "I do not know," Yong said honestly. "Maybe a long time. Maybe forever." Tears filled Suri's eyes. She tried to hold them back, but could not. This past year, coming to this bus stop had been the only thing that made her feel less alone. And now he was leaving. Yong reached out and gently patted her hand. "You are stronger than you know," he said. "This past year, you have learned something important. You have learned how to be present for others, how to share space with someone without needing words. You learned that from sitting here with me." Day arrived then. The teenage boy sat down and saw Suri crying. He pulled out his headphones, concerned. "What happened?" "Yong is leaving," Suri said, her voice breaking. Day's eyes went wide. "No, you cannot leave. You are always here. You have to be here." The boy's voice was desperate. 3 weeks ago, he had been ready to give up on everything, ready to end his own life. But the old man at the bus stop had given him candy, had shown him kindness without asking for anything, had been there, solid and reliable, every single night. That simple presence had saved Day's life, and now it was going away. Yong reached into his coat and pulled out his thermos, the one he brought every night. He handed it to Day. "This has kept my tea warm for many years," he said. "Now I want you to have it. Use it to keep yourself warm. And maybe use it to share tea with someone else who needs company." Day took the thermos with shaking hands. He did not understand why this felt like goodbye, why it felt so final. But he knew something important was happening. The three of them sat together in silence. The bus was coming. They could hear its engine in the distance. These were the last few moments they would have together. Sometimes, Yong said softly, the greatest kindness is showing up, being there when someone needs you. You both taught me that, even though I thought I was teaching you. The bus pulled up. The doors opened. Suri and Day stood up slowly. Neither wanted to leave. But the bus driver, Hannah, was waiting. They had to go. Suri turned back one last time. "Thank you for everything," she said. Her voice was thick with tears. "Thank you for never letting me be alone." Day could not speak. He just raised his hand in a wave. The thermos clutched tightly in his other hand. Yong waved back to both of them. His smile was sad but genuine. Then the bus doors closed. The bus drove away. And Yong was alone at the bus stop for the first time in 63 years. He waited until midnight like always. Then he stood up and pulled out the card Yinji had given him. He took out his phone and dialed the number. She answered on the first ring. "I will go," Yong said. "Tell me where to meet you." 1 hour later, Yong stood in an empty field far from city. Yunji and several other government officials stood a safe distance away. They watched as the old man walked to the center of the field. They watched as his body began to change and grow. The dragon emerged, massive and beautiful, green and gold scales shimmering in the moonlight, wings that could block out the moon, eyes that held 3,000 years of wisdom. This was what Yong really was. This was his true form. The dragon looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 5,000 people were alone and afraid, surrounded by darkness and unknown creatures. They needed someone to be with them, to protect them, to make sure they were not alone. The dragon spread his wings. He gathered all his power, and then he leaped into the sky. Higher and higher he flew, past the clouds, past the atmosphere, into the black emptiness of space. Behind him, the blue planet Earth grew smaller and smaller. His bus stop was down there, his bench, his routine, the people who had come to depend on him. He was leaving all of it behind, flying toward an uncertain future, flying toward people who needed him more. And as he flew, for the first time in many years, the ancient dragon felt truly alone. 2 weeks had passed on Earth. The bus stop looked different now, not because anything had changed physically. The bench was still there. The streetlights still hummed and flickered. But something felt wrong. Something was missing. Suri arrived at the usual time. She sat down on the bench and felt the emptiness beside her. No kind old man. No warm smile. No gentle presence that made everything feel safer. Just cold metal and the sound of wind through the trees. A few minutes later, Day arrived. He had Yong's thermos in his backpack. He sat on the other end of the bench and pulled out the thermos. He opened it and smelled the tea inside. It still smelled fresh somehow, even after 2 weeks. He poured a small cup and drank it. The warmth spread through his chest. This feels wrong. Day said quietly, he should be here. Suri nodded. She had tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. I know. I keep thinking he would just appear, that this was all a bad dream. They sat in silence. The bus would come soon. But the waiting felt different now. Heavier, lonelier. They realized how much that old man had given them just by being there. How much his presence had meant. A young man walked up to the bus stop. He looked nervous. His name was Taemin, and he was Suri's younger brother. She had told him about the old man who sat at the bus stop every night, about how he made people feel safe, about how he was gone now. Taemin sat down on the bench between Suri and Day. He did not say anything. He just sat there. He was 22 years old and worked at a convenience store. He got off work late, so he understood what it felt like to wait alone in the dark. What are you doing here? Suri asked her brother. Someone should sit here, Taemin said simply. That old man sat here for so many years. Someone should continue what he started. Suri felt something warm in her chest. Her brother was trying to help, trying to fill the space that Yong had left behind. It was not the same. Taemin was young and uncertain. He did not have that calm wisdom that Yong had, but he was there, and that meant something. Far away, beyond the stars, Yong traveled through space. The journey was unlike anything humans could understand. He did not fly through space the way a rocket did. Instead, he moved between spaces, through gaps in reality that only dragons could sense. It was faster than light, but it still took time, and it took enormous power. The emptiness of space was complete. There was nothing here. No sound, no air, no life. Just endless black dotted with distant stars. Yong had lived for 3,000 years, but he had never felt loneliness like this. At least on Earth, he had been surrounded by life, by cities and people and nature. Here, there was nothing. He thought about his bus stop, about Suri and Day, about the simple routine that had given his long life meaning. He wondered if he would ever see them again. He wondered if he had made the right choice. Then, finally, he saw it. A small blue-green planet ahead. New Busan, the human colony. As he got closer, he saw the domes where people lived. Large glass structures on the surface of the planet. And surrounding those domes were the creatures. They were enormous. Each one was as large as a building. They had no clear shape. They looked like clouds made of dark mist and starlight. They floated in the air around the colony, pressing against the domes, not attacking, just surrounding, suffocating. Yong flew down toward the largest dome. Inside, he could see people moving around. They looked scared, desperate. The life support systems were failing because the creatures blocked out the sunlight. The colony's solar panels could not work. The colony was dying slowly. A woman stood in the command center of the colony. Her name was Isul, and she was a commander here. She was 42 years old with tired eyes and gray hair. She had led these people across the stars to build a new home. Now she was watching that home die, and she did not know how to save it. Commander, a young man said. His name was Miho, and he was a scientist. I am detecting something. Something large approaching from orbit. Isul looked at the screen. Her eyes went wide. What is that? I do not know, Miho said, but it is alive, and it is huge. They watched as Yong descended. His dragon form was magnificent, green and gold scales that shimmered even in the dim light, wings that stretched wide, a long serpentine body that moved through the air like water. The people in the colony had never seen anything like him. Yong flew directly toward the misty creatures. He did not attack them. Instead, he simply positioned himself among them. He floated in the space between the creatures and the colony, a bridge between two worlds. The creatures noticed him immediately. They moved toward him, curious. Yong could sense their emotions now that he was close. They were not hostile. They were not evil. They were something else entirely. They were lonely. These creatures were ancient, like Yong. They had drifted through space for millions of years. Alone, isolated. When they sensed the colony's radio signals and saw its lights, they had been drawn to it like moths to a flame. They just wanted to be near something alive, near something that was not empty and cold. Yong understood. He understood because he had felt that same loneliness on his journey here. The terrible emptiness of space. The desperate need for connection. These creatures did not want to hurt anyone. They just did not want to be alone anymore. He reached out to them, not with words. Dragons did not speak the way humans did. Instead, he reached out with feelings, with emotions, with memories. He showed them his own loneliness, his own long years of isolation. He let them know that he understood. The creatures responded. They moved closer to Yong. They circled around him, not threatening, just curious, seeking connection. For the first time in millions of years, they had found another being who understood what they felt. Inside the colony, Isil watched in amazement. The creatures are moving away from the domes, she said. They are gathering around that dragon. What is happening? Miho was recording everything. I think they are communicating. The dragon is doing something. The creatures are responding to him. Slowly, the creatures pulled back from the domes. Sunlight began to reach the solar panels again. Life support systems started to recover. The colony was no longer suffocating. But the creatures did not leave. They stayed near the dragon. They needed him. They needed his presence. Yong realized what he had to do. He could not leave these creatures alone again. If he left, they would return to the colony. They would press close again, seeking the only source of life they had found. But he also could not abandon the colony. The people here needed protection. So he stayed. He positioned himself between the colony and the creatures, close enough to keep the creatures company, far enough to keep the colony safe. He became a guardian, a bridge, a companion to beings who had been alone for longer than humans had existed. Days passed, then weeks. Yong floated in space, keeping watch. The creatures stayed near him, peaceful now. The colony recovered. People returned to their normal lives, though they always kept one eye on the dragon in the sky, their mysterious savior. But Yong was fading. Dragons needed more than just existence. They needed connection, real connection. The creatures were grateful for his presence, but they could not truly communicate with him. The humans were safe because of him, but they were far away inside their domes. He was surrounded by beings, yet completely alone. He thought about his bus stop constantly, about sitting on that simple bench, about sharing silence with Suri, about giving candy today. Those small moments had fed his soul in ways this lonely guardianship did not. He had saved 5,000 lives, but he was losing himself in the process. Isil noticed his decline. She had been watching the dragon carefully. She saw that his scales were less bright now, his movements slower. Something was wrong. She called Miho to her office. "That dragon is dying," she said quietly. "He saved us, and now he is dying." Miho looked at the data on his screen. "I think you are right. His energy readings are dropping, but I do not understand why. He is not injured. He is not sick. It is like he is just fading away." Back on Earth at the bus stop, Tamian had become a regular presence. Every night, he sat on the bench. Sometimes other people joined him. Suri, Day, a few neighbors who had heard about the tradition. They kept the vigil. They kept the space. They made sure no one waited alone. One night, Yunji returned. She walked up to the bus stop and saw Taemin sitting there. She sat down beside him. "You are doing what he did," Yunji said. "That is good." Taemin looked at her. "Is he alive? Is Yong alive?" Yunji's face was sad. "He is alive. He saved the colony. But the reports say he is not well. He is trapped there light years away, and he is fading." Dae overheard this. He stood up, his fists clenched. "There has to be something we can do. He saved us. We have to save him." Yunji shook her head. "There is nothing. He is too far away. We cannot reach him." But they did not accept that answer. As the bus came and went, as people sat at the bench night after night, they thought about the dragon who had given them so much. The dragon who had taught them that no one should be alone. The dragon who was now alone himself, fading in the darkness between the stars. And slowly, an idea began to form. An impossible idea. But then again, Yong had seemed impossible too. A dragon disguised as an old man, sitting at a bus stop for 63 years. Maybe impossible things could happen. Maybe there was a way to reach across the stars and tell him that he was not forgotten, that he was not alone. 6 months had passed since Daewoo left Earth. At bus stop 47, the evening was cold and dark, but the bench was not empty. Kyungmin sat there, just like he did every night now. He had a thermos beside him, steam rising from the cup, but he was not alone tonight. Myri walked up to the bus stop. She carried 2 cups of coffee. "Friday night coffee," she said with a small smile. She handed 1 cup to Kyungmin and sat down beside him. A few minutes later, Juno arrived. He did not say much. He never did. But he stood near the bench, watching the street. When an old woman came to wait for the bus, he helped her with her heavy shopping bags. She smiled and thanked him. This was how things were now. What Daewoo had done alone had become something bigger. The people he cared for now cared for each other. They kept each other company. They made sure no one waited alone. But they all missed him. Every night, they wondered where he was. They wondered if he was safe. They wondered if he would ever come home. Far away, beyond the stars, Daewoo floated in the endless dark of space. He was near the colony called New Thusan, 47 light years from Earth. Around him were the massive creatures of humans called the Wanderers. They were huge beings that lived in space, bigger than buildings, bigger than mountains. For 6 months, Daewoo had stayed here. He kept the Wanderers calm. He helped them understand the humans. He helped the humans understand the Wanderers. It was working. The colony was safe now. The Wanderers no longer pressed against the domes. They circled at a distance, drawn to the lights and voices, but careful not to harm anyone. But something was wrong with Daewoo. He was getting weaker. His dragon form was not as bright as before. His strength was fading day by day. Dragons needed connection to live. They needed to feel close to others. Daewoo was surrounded by beings. The colonists were grateful to him. The Wanderers needed him. But he was truly alone. No one really understood him. No one could talk to him like Myri did. No one shared quiet moments like Juno. No one needed simple company the way the people at the bus stop did. He missed home. Not the mountain where he slept. Not even his dragon form flying through the sky. He missed bus stop 47. He missed the sound of rain on the shelter roof. He missed the smell of tea from his thermos. He missed the late bus arriving at midnight. He missed being needed in a simple way. Commander Hyojin noticed that something was wrong. She put on her space suit and went outside the colony dome. She spoke to Daewoo through her radio. "You are not well," she said. It was not a question. Daewoo's voice came through, tired and soft. "I am fine. The colony is safe. That is what matters." "You are dying," Hyojin said. She was a soldier. She spoke directly. "I can see it. Everyone can see it. You saved us, but we have trapped you here." Daewoo was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I am homesick. I did not know dragons could feel this way. In 3,000 years, I never felt it before." "What is home to you?" Hyojin asked gently. "A bus stop," Daewoo said. "A bench. A few people waiting in the dark. The sound of the late bus. That is home." Hyojin felt her heart break. This ancient, powerful being missed a simple bus stop. She went back inside and found Dr. Taewon. "We need to send him home," she said. Dr. Taewon shook his head. He does not have enough power. The journey took too much from him, and we still need him here. Without him, the Wanderers might return to their old behavior. They might surround us again. Then what can we do? Hyojin asked. Dr. Taewon thought for a while. Then his eyes grew wide. The Wanderers are energy beings. If they could share their energy with Daewoo, he might have enough power to go home. But they barely trust us. They will not understand a complex plan. We have to try, Hyojin said. Back on Earth, a black car pulled up to bus stop 47. The government official stepped out. She was the same woman who had asked Daewoo to go to New Busan. She looked sad. Kyungmin, Myri, and Juno all stood up when they saw her. They knew something was wrong. Is he okay? Myri asked, her voice shaking. The official shook her head. Daewoo is dying. He is too far away. There is nothing we can do to help him from here. Juno's face went white. His hands started to shake. No, he said. No, he cannot die. I never thanked him. I never told him that he saved my life. Tears ran down his face. Myri put her arm around him. She was crying too. Even Kyungmin, who had never met Daewoo in his true form, felt tears in his eyes. There must be something, Myri said. Anything. The official hesitated. Then she said, there might be one thing. Daewoo is a dragon. Dragons can sense across time and space when they are connected to a place they love. If enough people at this bus stop think of him, focus on him, send him their thoughts, he might feel it. He might hear you. Then we will do that. Myri said immediately. All of us, Kyungmin added. Everyone, Juno said, wiping his eyes. They started telling people. They called friends. They posted on social media. They talked to neighbors. The story spread quickly. The dragon who sat at a bus stop to keep people company. The dragon who left Earth to save a colony. The dragon who was dying alone in space. People listened. People cared. Within days, the news picked up the story. It spread across the city, then the country, then the world. On Friday night, people started gathering at bus stop 47. At first, there were dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. They filled the street. They held lights, candles, phone screens. They thought of Daewoo. They remembered his kindness. They sent him their gratitude across the stars. In space, Daewoo floated in the dark, weak and fading. Then he felt something. Warmth, recognition, love. It washed over him like a wave, crossing the impossible distance between worlds. He did not understand at first. Then he realized. Back home, they were thinking of him. They remembered him. They cared. He was not alone. He had never been alone. The warmth grew stronger. It filled him. For the first time in 6 months, Daewoo felt truly connected. He felt home, but he was still trapped between two worlds. He had enough power now to do one more great thing. He could return to Earth and leave the colony to face the Wanderers alone. Or he could stay here forever as their guardian, teaching them to care for each other. The choice should have been easy. His duty was clear. But after feeling such terrible loneliness, after understanding what it truly meant to be alone, Daewoo was not sure he could face it again. He looked at the colony, with its lights and busy people. He looked at the Wanderers, massive and lonely in the void. He looked toward Earth, so far away but feeling so close now. What would he choose? In the gathering crowd at bus stop 47, thousands of people held their breath and hoped. They did not know what would happen next, but they knew one thing. Tonight, the dragon was not alone, and neither were they. The vigil at bus stop 47 continued for 3 days and 3 nights. People brought food and blankets. They brought candles and stories. They told each other about times when they felt alone and someone unexpected showed up. They talked about small kindnesses that changed their lives. The gathering became more than just waiting. It became a celebration of connection. Strangers became friends. People who lived on the same street for years finally talked to each other, all because of a dragon who once sat on a bench to keep them company. Kyungmin, Myri, and Juno stayed at the center of it all. They were tired, but they would not leave. Every night at 11:47, they held their breath. Every night at midnight, they hoped. Far away at New Busan, Daewoo made his choice. He would not abandon these worlds. But he would not remain alone between them either. He had learned something important. Loneliness was not defeated by serving others while staying distant. It was defeated by letting others serve you too. By accepting connection, not just giving it. Daewoo approached the Wanderers in the void of space. His dragon form was weak, but his purpose was strong. He had a proposition for them. Through feelings and memories, he showed them what he wanted. He would teach them to care for the colony if they would learn to care for each other. And for him, the Wanderers were confused at first. They had been alone for so long. They did not know how to be together. They only knew how to hunger for connection. But Daewoo was patient. Day after day, he sat with them in the void. He showed them what he had learned at a bus stop on Earth. Presence was enough. Showing up mattered. You did not need to do anything grand. You just needed to be there. Slowly, the Wanderers began to understand. They started moving closer to each other, not to the colony. They formed patterns in space, like a school of fish or a flight of birds. They were learning to be together. One of the Wanderers moved close to Daewoo. It wrapped around him gently, sharing its warmth. Then another came. Then another. They were keeping him company. They were taking care of him the way he had taken care of them. Dr. Taewon watched from the colony and could not believe what he was seeing. He ran calculations. He checked energy signatures. Then he called Commander Hyojin to his lab. "Look at this," he said, pointing at a screen. "The Wanderers' energy patterns. They match ancient stories from Earth. Dragons, phoenixes, cosmic serpents. They're the same type of being as Daewoo." Hyojin stared at the screen. "You mean?" "They are family," Dr. Taewon said. "Different worlds, different forms, but the same kind of ancient beings. Daewoo is not alone out there. He found others like himself. In the void, Daewoo felt it too. These beings were like him. They had lived for ages. They had been alone for so long. They understood him in a way humans never could. And he understood them. For the first time since leaving Earth, Daewoo did not feel alone. He had the love from his friends on Earth, flowing across the stars. He had the kinship of the Wanderers, surrounding him in space. He had the gratitude of the colonists, safe in their domes. Connection came from all directions now, not just from him to others, but from others to him. The flow went both ways. Something began to change inside Daewoo. His dragon form began to glow brighter. His strength returned, but it was different now. He was not drawing power from himself. He was drawing power from connection, from belonging. Back on Earth, the vigil reached its peak. The entire city had come out. They sang songs. They shared food. They created art on the street around Bus Stop 47. A young girl, maybe 7 years old, asked Kyungmin a question. "Why are we doing this if the dragon cannot come back?" Kyungmin looked at all the people gathered. He looked at the lights they held. He looked at Myri and Juno standing beside him. Then he understood. "We are not waiting for him to return," Kyungmin said gently. "We are showing him that what he built still stands. He is not alone out there, because we are not alone down here. We learn from him. We are keeping each other company now." The little girl nodded. She understood. At that moment, something impossible happened. Daewoo felt a shift deep inside himself. The connection to Earth was strong. The connection to the Wanderers was strong. The connection to the colony was strong. All three pulled at him, but not to tear him apart. They pulled to hold him together. He transformed, not into his dragon form, not into his elderly human form, into something new, something more. He became a being of pure light and intention, existing in multiple places at once. In space above New Busan, Daewoo appeared in his dragon form. He was majestic and powerful, watching over the colony and the Wanderers. He would always be their guardian. In the void between stars, Daewoo appeared as pure energy. He was connected to the Wanderers, part of their family, no longer separate or alone. He would always be their brother. And at Bus Stop 47, an old man appeared on the bench. The crowd went silent. Everyone stared. The old man looked exactly as he had before. Weathered face, kind eyes, a thermos of tea beside him. But there was something different, a glow around him, a presence that seemed to fill the whole street. Myri moved forward slowly. Her hand shook as she reached out. "Are you really here?" she whispered. Daewoo smiled. It was the same gentle smile from months ago. "I am everywhere I am needed, and I am needed here." Juno ran forward and threw his arms around the old man. He did not care that everyone was watching. He did not care about anything except that his friend was back. "You came home," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I never left," Daewoo said softly. "Not really. You were all with me the whole time. I just needed to learn how to be with you while being everywhere else too." The crowd erupted in cheers. People laughed and cried and hugged each other. Music started playing. Someone brought out food. The vigil became a party. Kyungmin sat down on the bench next to Daewoo. "Will you stay?" he asked. "Every night." "Every night," Daewoo promised. "As always. But now I know something I did not know before. I am not here, so no one waits alone. I am here because none of us should be alone. Not me, not you, not the colonists light years away, not ancient beings in the void. We all need each other." 1 year later, Bus Stop 47 looked different. The bench had been expanded. Now there was room for many people to sit together. Every night, people gathered there, not because they had to, because they wanted to. Kyungmin still came every evening. Daewoo was there too, in his old man form, thermos beside him. Myri brought coffee on Fridays. Juno helped anyone who needed it. Others joined them. Students, workers, elderly people, families. The bus stop had become a landmark, a place of community, a place where no one waited alone. Far away at New Busan, the colony had grown. New domes were being built. The wanderers circled above in beautiful patterns, official guardians of humanity's second home. Dr. Taewon ran the first interspecies communication program. Children in the colony learned to send greetings to the great beings in space. Commander Hyojin sent a message to Earth. They were planning a third colony. They want to call it Daewoo Station. In the void between worlds, the wanderers gathered often. They were no longer isolated and desperate. They were part of something vast, a network of consciousness that included Daewoo, the colonists, billions of humans on Earth, and each other. On a rainy evening in Seoul, Daewoo sat on his bench at Bus Stop 47. Steam rose from his thermos of tea. The shelter was decorated with messages and artwork from people around the world. Children's drawings, thank you notes, poems, photos. Myri arrived for the late bus. She sat beside him without a word. They watched the rain together. "Cold tonight," she finally said. "Yes," Daewoo agreed, "but we have tea and company." The bus arrived at 11:51, right on time. They stood together and boarded. Through the window, Myri saw Kyungmin take his place on the bench. He would keep watch until midnight. Just like always, the bus pulled away. Daewoo looked at the people around him. Tired workers going home. Students with heavy backpacks. An elderly woman clutching her shopping bags. All of them together in the warm bus, protected from the cold and rain outside. None of them knew who he really was. None of them knew about the colony he guarded or the cosmic beings he called family. To them, he was just a kind old man who rode the late bus. And that was perfect, because the greatest strength was not in being powerful. It was not in being everywhere at once. It was in showing up, in being present, in making sure that no one, anywhere, ever had to wait alone. The bus rumbled through the night. Rain pattered against the windows. Inside, people sat together in comfortable silence. Outside, the city lights glowed against the darkness. And somewhere between Earth and the stars, a dragon smiled. He was home. He had always been home. Because home was not a place. Home was connection. Home was care. Home was the simple act of being there for someone else. Home was a bus stop where no one waited alone.